Welcome to Beauties and Beasties, the independent pest podcast of the UK. You right?
Evening. How are you?
Good evening. I'm all right, mate. Are we live? Is there anybody there? Yep, somebody's watching, so that's cool. So we know it's working.
If my goes a little bit weird,
sound,
please let us know and I'll change over to my headset. Hi Wayne, cool. Hi Rupert. Nice to see everyone on again tonight. Lovely to see us. How's your week been?
Oh, up and down like a yo-yo. You know,
right.
It's been okay. How about you? What have you learned?
So I've just finished.
You've been on a lot, haven't you?
Yeah, finished off the last 2 modules of the PASMA training. So a lot of people think that PASMA is just simply like the ability to put a mobile tower up. Everyone does the basic PASMA course and that's it. But I think there's another 5 or another 6 modules that you can do. Building towers on stairs, building link towers, building cantilevers. The 2 we've just finished, which was the last 2, was what they call large deck. So we can literally, we could walk into a room and put a big, massive flat deck up, and what they call facade. So we could build a whole tower across the front of a building. They're all linked into each other. So now I think there's only a handful of people in the country have the amount of qualifications that Clive, because I've been with Clive Stewart, that Clive and I have. And when you've done all of every element of it, you are then eligible to become what they call an ATS, Advanced Summit or whatever it is, which is another 5-day course. But that allows you to start building off. You don't need instructions anymore. You know, your towers come and it says, put this here, do this, do that.
Yeah.
And you've got to build to their set standards. It means that we could start doing stuff ourselves. And I think there's only a handful of people in the country who have that ATS. So we're going to, I think we're looking at doing that at the back end of the year. It's only 5 years. It has to be repeated on, and it'll just allow us to do so much more in-house and ultimately be a lot safer. But yeah, I've got... and
you've been on your lovely NEBOSH course, haven't you?
Yeah, and I've done NEBOSH today. We've just done our final instruction before the exam, which I have on the 6th.
Have you actually learned anything? Because it's pretty boring.
Yeah, actually, I have, but it's just... I was having this conversation today and everyone in the room looked at us like I was an absolute idiot, right? Because obviously it's me and I say what I think. Hang on a second, let's put this light on, see what happens. That should be better. Yeah. And I was saying, when you think about it, like if anyone's ever been on a health and safety course, the people in the room are usually like bright kids, you know, they're not thick, they are clever kids. And if you find anyone in the health and safety industry, they're usually they're not stupid, and they've actually got a really interesting subject. So you've got people getting hurt, you've got people getting prosecuted, you've got effects on businesses, and you've got all these clever people with an interesting story, and it's just boring. You know, it's so boring, it's unreal, you know. But I think the problem is that it's built for academics, and they are more than happy to sit in a classroom and just absorb. Whereas for someone like me, it's like pulling teeth, you know. I really struggle with it.
Is it like, because when one of the only things that I did at college, because I did law at college at O level, it was only because I fancied the girl that was doing it. We were sat down doing our choices, and I said, "What are you doing then?" She said, "Oh, I think I'll do law." I said, "I think I'll do that as well then." So I put it down and I did it, but it was the most fucking boring subject ever. But it wasn't the subject that was boring. It was the bloke that was teaching it, you know, with the case law. And he didn't make it interesting. You know, there was one case when there was a snail in a glass milk bottle. I can remember it now, but he could have made that so funny, but he didn't.
Yeah.
I wondered if it's just boring. So
Rupert says, are you buying a load of equipment so you're not relying on scaffolders? We'll hire it all in, Rupert. If you haven't, we find the costs of hiring are so cheap, and you need so many different components that to buy it all and to store it all is not cost effective. It is definitely a hire it in. And we've got a trailer, so we just go, we load up, tell them what we want. We want this. What I want, 2 short width, single width platforms, 1 a trapdoor, 1 a solid, 2 4s, 2 6s, 2 8s, so many diagonals, so many horizontals, a couple of casters, and I literally just pull the trailer up and load it up with what I want, and we take it away. But yeah, we've got. I would show you some pictures of the stuff we built, but I don't think it's that interesting, so I won't bring it up. And then I'll tell you the other thing I've learned this week, which is you're going to hate it, but I love it. I'll see if I can share it. Let me have a look. I have, obviously everyone knows I mess on my bees a little bit.
Oh, not bees again.
Look at this. Look at this. Don't be mean. Don't be mean.
No, come on, bees.
Listen to me. Listen to me. Be nice. I'm going to show you my bees and you're going to be nice, okay? Get it. Don't be mean. Don't be mean. For anybody who has done any sort of beekeeping, I had my first go at grafting. Can you hear that or not? Can you hear it?
I can see it.
You can't hear the commentary though.
No, not really. It looks like loads of little wasp nests. That'd be fantastic, wouldn't it?
Yeah. Well, at the end, it'll come in. I'll bring it in close so we get up. There we go. So that they're obviously upside down, but that's a queen cell.
Right.
And if you
looks like a target.
Looks
like an air gun target.
See how it's very white in the bottom? Well, that's royal jelly. That's the stuff that women pay to put on their face. It looks like cum. It tastes like cum. It's fucking horrible.
Is that why they put it on their face?
Must be. Yeah, and the more royal jelly you can get in, the better the queen cell. So I was really, really, really happy that we'd done that. So I've got 15 nukes to make up tomorrow morning to take these cells, which I wasn't planning on. And I thought I was going to get like 3 or 4, and I thought, And now all of a sudden I've got to go up tomorrow and start breaking down colonies and knocking things about to produce some nukes. So, and as soon as I come out on Sunday, I'm going to have another go and see how many we can produce. But here's the thing, if you're a beekeeper, if I was buying in Queens, you're going to pay 40 to 50 quid, 50 quid with delivery for your queens to be delivered. There's 15 cells there. Do you know what I mean? That's 750 quid if you got them mated. Even at half, if half of them get mated, well, you're looking at 350, just under 400 quid's worth of work you don't have to do now. So I've really, really, really enjoyed doing it. And it's made us incredibly happy.
Cool. Awesome.
What have you done this week? What have you learned?
What have I actually learned? I learned that it doesn't take 10 gallons of water to produce an AI image at all. That's a complete fallacy. I don't know why. Nothing about pest control learned this week, but I heard something about AI images in the water, and I thought I'd check it out, and it doesn't. It takes about a glass full of water. And it's because AI at the present time, it does need massive amounts of water, but it's because it's got an evaporation cooling process rather than a circulating cooling process. But now most of the new chips and everything will be having recycled water cooling rather than evaporated cooling. I don't know if that's of any interest to anybody, but there you go.
Haven't you learned something about your emails as well? Hasn't that caused you a load of hassle?
Oh yeah, email, changing over email systems. to Outlook has been an absolute nightmare. Yeah, well, we had two separate systems. We had Mozilla, Thunderbird, and also something called Rackspace, and we had to try to merge the two together. But it just goes because we've been going like 28 odd years. We started with emails from the very beginning, and we didn't have the intention of being where we are now. So it's grown in time, and it was try to pull everything together as we go. I hate that phrase. As we go into the future, not go forward. As we go into the future.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Did I tell you that I'd made a load of queen cells and I'm really happy about it? Because I am proper happy about it.
Right. Okay. Come on. Let's bring on our guest. Our guest. You could introduce him because.
Yeah. So a very good friend of mine. Have a coffee with him on a regular basis. He's been on the podcast before. A man after my own heart. Loves lurchers, terriers, ferrets. That sort of country way of life, but is probably heading in a new direction. So, with no further ado, I present to you Mr. Simon Whitehead. Man in the
Hey, let's talk bees then.
Yeah. How are you?
So, yeah, I've just run out of honey actually. So I need a good supplier of organic, proper honey because all my nutrition's been changed, and one of the main components is honey. So pre-gym, it's rice cakes, honey.
Your honey's went shit, Simon.
You what, sorry?
It was good before, and it's went. Have you changed your headphones or something? Because it was good before. Now it's went rubbish.
Is it rubbish now? Right. Well, I'll switch these headphones off, and I'll just go.
See how that goes.
Is that what? Do you want me to take my headphones off?
See if there's any better out there, Mon. It was good before, and then.
Right. How's that?
Perfect.
Right. Well, I can't hear you, so that's.
That's not great.
Can I get loudspeaker on this thing?
Yeah.
I don't know what you're using.
Where's the speaker on the?
What you normally do is on the settings at the bottom somewhere, there'll be a settings thing. Just click on there and it'll be microphone and speakers, and then just set them both to your phone.
So.
We got you.
Now it's frozen.
On the bottom, there's a microphone, a video camera.
Uh-oh.
Switched his cell off, and he. There's a button that says leave and all. He's gone. He'll come back on. He'll probably reboot him in, but yeah.
Oh,
for anyone, I was going to say, for anyone who didn't watch Simon the first time round, he was quite big talking about mental health and stuff, wasn't he? And
yeah,
anybody who's been in the industry will know him if they've been to any of the do's, your pest text, your pet, all them sort of things, because he speaks at them quite regularly, doesn't he? He's done a lot of the MPT on the road days, and he's probably, well, he definitely is, isn't he? He's the industry's leading expert on rabbit control, I would say.
Rabbits and ferrets, sort of stuff that I don't really. Sorry, mate.
We've just priced up a big rabbit job. It's that big they'll go on contract for it.
Right, sort of thing that I'm out of my depth on, to be quite honest. Rabbits and sort of ferreting and sort of anything like that.
Oh, we got you.
Right, I'm gonna have to use my headphones because I can't hear you. It's like I'll be doing this because I can't find where the speaker is, and I pressed the button and it put me off, so I'm not going to touch nothing. All right.
Yeah. You're saying you can't. So I've given you a bit of an introduction, but tell us, since the last time you were on, what's changed?
How long ago? Was it a fair while ago? Was that 18 months, 2 years, 18 months? I was one of the first ones, wasn't I? So
a couple of years, 2 years.
Bloody hell. What's changed? Well, bit older, 58 next week. A lot fitter, and my rabbiting has changed. My whole philosophy, I suppose, has slightly changed. Life has changed, definitely, and the avenues I'm going in are basically the same, but just a little bit tweaked. So there's been lots of change, really. Also, rabbity and life and fitness and stuff, but it's I suppose I'm a bit more black and white now. I haven't got time to faff about, so I'm just going to do what I need to do and want to do now. Does that make sense? So
Yeah.
when it comes to rabbiting, I'm not going to I've given up appeasing anybody. I'm just going to do it. And if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm going down different avenues that, let's say, the mainstream people who go ferret or rabbiting or rabbit for pest control go down. So I'm working.
Haven't you getting into doing a bit of chimney sweeping as well as maybe as an exit out of it when you've had enough?
Yeah, well, a little side hustle. Yeah, I started a little chimney sweep business. So I've been playing the Northern Dick Van Dyke. But that's just to fill a Dotson. It's not going to take over anything. It's just there to just keep everybody happy.
Right. Okay. So what else is so what has actually changed? Let's go through it then.
So let's go through it then. Well, anybody who was at the XL and listened to me babble on, which I enjoyed actually, the XL, the talk there. There's something going through Parliament at the minute that wants to make the use of a dog illegal, and depending on how Starmer, how much he's got to appease his backbenchers, depends on what bill's going through. Best case scenario, hunting's gone and they're going to leave us alone, which is good. Worst case scenario, they want to ban all hunting with dogs, so terriers on rats, lurchers, everything like that, and that's just the thin edge of the wedge. So I've been involved in that a little bit because I've been going down the route of using a different type of dog for marking and being a vessel of pressure rather than having a lurcher as a catch dog. So my days of having a lurcher for rabbiting are gone. So that's one of the little avenues I've been going down.
See, we've talked about that.
Sorry, Hugh, go on.
I'm going to say to Simon, we talked about that before on the podcast, haven't we? The chances of mission creep with this, hunting or using dogs to follow a trail. They're talking about vertebrates now, but how far does it get taken when they start talking about you can't use a dog to find the trail of a bedbug? And although that sounds daft,
yeah,
although that
personally, I wouldn't worry. I wouldn't. I as it's looking, right? And they had some meetings with the ministers yesterday and the day before. They basically just want to get rid of trail hunting. Nothing else, trail hunting. And all these talks they're having at the minute isn't so much about protecting our way of life and educating on different aspects of dog work. They are talking about how they are going to ban trail hunting. So if you read between the lines, I think best case scenario, Karma comes back, 2004 has been revisited, Karma's visited and hunting's gone. And the sacrificial lambs back in the early 2000s are now going to be safe because we'll be allowed to use lurchers, you'll be allowed to use whatever dog for whatever vertebrate because they're actually realising that it's not worth the chew on to take that on because if they decide they do want to do that, then there's going to be several professional pest control bodies applying pressure, and then they'll apply pressure through other influential bodies. And I just don't think at the present time, without getting political, I don't think they're up for it. I mean, they can't even stir the coffee with sugar in it, so I can't see how they're going to do this. But
and you can get political.
But they will end trail hunting. they are determined to finish that job. So let them do it.
Fair enough.
I think if anyone hasn't been, I was talking to one of my lads about it the other day, and if you've never been in the hunting world, they don't help themselves at all, do they? Like,
No,
there's
well, I think that's what it is.
works.
I think that's why they want it gone, because there's been that much blatant, not using your brain, blatant misuse. I just think that, I mean, they've got to appease some of their backbenchers and politicians, because they've made a deal with the devil years ago, and this was a cashback. But it's a shame, but life rolled on. Just look at where we are now compared to 10, 15, 20 years ago. There was no mobile phones then, there was no drones, there was no instant communication. So you could get away with things if you were that way inclined. You could get away, but now it's increasingly hard. And I just think that's just come back to bite them. They haven't really, like you said, it's a shame. It's traditional. We all have been within that world, and we all spent an incredible amount of time trying to preserve that world. But there comes a point where the powers to be, and the way the world's going, and the way everything is going, something is going to go. And without being, I am going to be selfish on this one. It's better off that go than all the individuals that actually need them professionally for work to provide a service that cannot be replaced, to pay for the mortgage and the food in the family's mouth. Yes, I know hunt people will be affected, but that's a small minority compared to everybody else. And I just think you've got to be sensible in this day and age. You've just got to move with the times, which is why a lot of people now, when it comes to rabbiting and ferreting, we use detection dogs, and we have done for years. So we're sort of being one step ahead of it, because you've got to think, like you were saying about your health and safety module. It's built for academics. About time they changed it, because then they'd get more people interested in it. And if you don't move with the times, then you are going to have that effect, and you just switch off. So when it comes to protecting what I do and what other people do, by being proactive and showing there is a different side to it, then at least that's given us a bit of a fighting chance of stemming the tide.
Yeah. Yeah. You had much dealings with rabbits, Hugh?
No.
I think you have, haven't you? Didn't you get paid an extraordinary amount of money at Renticle to deal with a rabbit problem?
Oh, yes, that one. Yeah, but I didn't actually kill one. We did get paid.
I'll say the story.
So when I used to work for Rentokil, there's a island off of the Channel Islands called Breccu that's owned by the Barclay brothers, and the rabbits were decimating the trees that they wanted to plant on the island. So they contracted the company to get rid of the rabbits, and they weren't having much luck. So they sent myself and another supervisor over to clear the island of rabbits. So we took over a case of phostoxin and a couple of air rifles, and we could never refer to the project as what you're actually used to do, what you could do, but you used to get a phone call saying, I'm phoning about Project 51, because we were Project 51 out of the whole thing. So you used to pick up the phone and say, yeah, Project 51. Yeah, it's supposed to be hush hush. Anyway, we turned up on the harbour at St. Peter Port with 2 rifles and a great big case of phostoxin, and the little supply boat came in. It was called the Breccu Chief, and everybody stood on the dock and they're looking at us going, you're the guys from Rentokil, aren't you? And we're like, no, we're not. We're here for Project 51. No, you're the guys from Rentokil, aren't you? So he handed this great big case of phostoxin across over on the water, looking down at the water, handing it over. and we got taken onto the island, and we spent 3 days on the island, and we never saw a single rabbit.
That's
And
not true. That's not true. You did see it. You just didn't shoot it, did you?
well, did see them, but they were like, because the side of the island's like this. So if you saw, well, we didn't kill a single rabbit. If you saw them, they just went over the edge of the cliff, down the edge of the cliff, and like, fuck you.
How much did they appear? How much did they appear?
Oh, it was a huge amount of money. I can't remember, but 30, 40 grand, lots of money. But no, we didn't get. It's a wonderful experience, but unfortunately, there is a couple of photos of me back in the day with my Phos toxin safety gear on, which consisted of a stick.
I was just going to say, it could have been worse. You could have dropped the big case of Phos toxin in the sea as you were getting off, couldn't you?
Just literally had a pair of trousers on, no shirt, pair of rubber boots, and a stick. And that just drop a pellet out and stick it down the hole. Job done. But yes. So that's about my rabbit experience.
I'm interested in this detection dog thing, Simon, because I couldn't go ferreting with a dog that wasn't a lurcher. I couldn't do it. It would absolutely.
Well, you could use a lurcher for this as well, but depending on where you are and what the laws are going to be. So, for instance, if you're in Scotland, you can't take a dog ferreting anywhere. It's illegal. So there's no point even arguing that one. But the detection dog thing, it's for a lot of my work now, the grass fields and the hedges have been replaced by tower blocks, buildings and concrete. So I don't ferret mainly under mud as you would. I ferret under concrete. And a lot of these places, building sites, prisons, hospitals, Ministry of Defence, you can't afford to have a dog running about. But when you think about it logically, all you need that dog to do is to tell you where the rabbit is and to stand there and look ugly. You don't need it running about because that's what the nets are for. So we are now crossing the boundaries between going out for a bit of fun and doing it for work. So we're not even touched on the ferret side, but your mindset side is it's not about catching the rabbits. It's about not letting them get away. And you do not need the dog to do that job if your nets are properly set and of the right size and everything else for what you're doing. All you need that dog to do is to be there. So when the rabbit comes up, a little bit like the bouncer in the pub, when the 6'8" gorilla gets up, he doesn't say anything. He doesn't do anything. He's a vessel of pressure. He's a threat. You sit down. Otherwise, he is a threat. And this is what the dog is. When the rabbits come out, if you don't give them that bit of pressure, they will stop. They'll look around. They'll make a decision. And then you're giving them an advantage to outthink you. Whereas when they come out and they see a dog, they don't know that dog's just going to stand there. They think that's an apex predator about to take it. So it's going to act accordingly. So it's either going to run towards the net or it's going to run back under the ground. But you are taking that time away for that animal to make a decision and get the better of you. So that's why you can take a dog anywhere and slap a detection dog on the side of it. And you take away the people's image of what you're doing. Because if I went half the places with Dottie, which is me lurcher, people know what you're up to because of the dog. You're increasing all the risks because it's a very high prey-driven dog. No matter how well trained it is, it's still that. And the percentage of something going amiss and somebody recording that on a device is higher than it would be if you just simply use your dog to mark. That's it, mark, that's it. And then you do the rest. And that's what you've got to think about, or I have, on a lot of these jobs, because you're on about Project X. Half of my jobs, I've signed the Official Secrets Act and non-disclosure agreements. So that's what it's like, and they do not want somebody recording my lurcher running about with a rabbit in its mouth or upsetting the people that work there by them thinking they know what I'm doing. Whereas if I just stand there, blend into the surroundings in how I'm dressed, and have a big dopey dog there just stood there, then they're going to walk past because they're not going to, their minds aren't going to twig on what we're up to. It's irrelevant about the next. They're irrelevant. They don't even see them. They see you. They see the animals. They see what you're doing. And if you blend into the surroundings and look like you're there anywhere, then they're just going to crack on. You are not going to be getting attention on yourself, which when you're doing half of these jobs, that's what you need to do, and that's what the modus operandi is from the people who are paying your wages, because they do not want people to know what you're doing. And I do a lot under buildings and under roads and construction sites, airport. There's all really funny places, but they're places where you can't have a dog running about. So that's work. If it was just for fun, yeah, I'd have my dog. I'd have Dotty out every day of the week. But that's not work, and you've got to think differently about that. And that's where people have blurred the lines over the decades. They just do not understand how all those years ago, when we were against the gas man, and people said it would never work. But now look at it now, where people doing what I do are in great demand because risk assessments, trip hazards. There doesn't have to be a lot of rabbits there for you to do your job. It's about ticking those boxes in those sheets. So I like all these risk assessments because if there's a trip hazard and there's a rabbit hole there, then they've got to do that legally. And because it's near buildings, that nullifies any form of chemicals. So there's only one way to do it. They're not going to pay somebody to trap it. They're not going to pay somebody to keep going around and try and shoot it. They're going to pay somebody to go in, extract the problem, fill the hole in, and tick it in the box. And that's where the detection dog comes into its own.
I'm not going to lie, I agree with what you're saying. But what I don't like about this is that you've got someone who's an eminent person who is sort of backing up that lurchers aren't needed. And I think what will happen is they'll run with that, and then all of a sudden, if you give them an inch to take a mile, and I think if you're an eminent person within the industry, we need to stand up and say, no, do you know what it is? The lurchers are a useful thing, and bolting rabbits and all that. And I get what you're saying, but I don't like the message.
In my situation, or in how my work's going, a lurcher isn't the right type of dog for me. Yeah. Might be for somebody else, but it's not for me. If I was in the hills or the farmland, so for instance, if most of my work was hedgerows, I'd have 2 or 3 lurchers because they'd be more suitable for the job and the environment I'm working in. But I'm not working in that environment no more. So I'm going with what's best suited for my team. Now, yeah, I get what you're saying, and every time I've said this sort of publicly, it's a dog as opposed to a type of dog. But for me, the lurcher isn't the right fit for the jigsaw. It would be if I was back in Suffolk and working on the fields and the hedgerows and the woodlands, but I'm not. So for me,
why have you moved from doing that to doing this?
Well, it's simple finances really, because when you grow up working for farmers, estate workers, estate owners, gamekeepers, land agents, they still look at ferreting as something Jack down a pub did with his ferret on a Sunday morning. And historically, it's been hard to command a decent wage for what it's worth when you put in travel, expertise, equipment, animals, time. But then you move to authorities, Forestry Commission, government, construction companies, national multi-organisations like the Royal Mail. You are exactly the same as a JCB digger or a lift for somebody to do the guttering. You are not. You don't have that emotional attachment to what you're doing. so they're not biased on what they pay you. So when you're working for the government, you are going to earn for every day you work what you would earn for a week working for a farmer or an estate. So when I was younger, I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to cut my teeth, learn my trade, get on top of everything else, get my foundations right. But I could have earned a lot more money working for these people. But I wanted to do it that way because of what I loved. But then it comes to a point where you think, you know what? Why should I work and do something and struggle to get the job done for somebody that doesn't appreciate you? And yet I can work for somebody that does appreciate you, and they're going to pay me a lot more. And then when you start in that climate, then then people talk, and it's fairly easy then for people to find somebody to do this job. So most of my work is subcontracting for other pest control companies or directly to agencies. I very rarely find jobs myself. It's like you and Project X. I'll get an email or a phone call, and if we agree terms and conditions and I can fit it in, then I'll do it. And that's how it works.
So just taking it off on a slightly different direction, and I'm not saying it's right and it's not saying it's wrong. Do you think the same about rat packs, where they do ratting for free? Is that degrading the whole pest control industry because it's done as a hobby, or it's not seen as well paid? Or
no, I wouldn't have thought so, because I can tell you something about rat packs. Most of the people that do rat packs tend to be pest controllers or gamekeepers or people like that. Right. Now, I've been out with professional rat packs that are looking for one mouse in a warehouse or looking for a rat, or they tend to be a bit like me and me rabbiting. They're around buildings and environments where it's a lot different than somebody lifting a pig hut and getting 1,000 rats. So you can't compare the two, because the dog that will be in a rat pack covered in mud and cow shit and loving itself, and I love ratting. It's the best thing in the world. They're probably the same dog that'll be shampooed and that'll go in a warehouse, but getting paid 10 times the amount to do its job. So you're not degrading them. You just got to accept there's different pieces of the jigsaw that have got to be put in the right places, and you can't compare the two. You can't compare what I do for rabbiting to somebody that goes out on a Sunday morning. I'm sorry, you can't, because when we start from the top right to the bottom of things, it's a completely different level. And it's the same for these people who do the ratting. I know people that go out on a Sunday morning. They're the same people that charge a big amount of money to do it during the week, but they love doing it, so they'll do it. And it's a way of sharpening the dogs, getting the dogs right, and then when they need to work that dog when there's a bit of pressure and they need a result, it's at its pre-season trial, its apprenticeship, and it's run out, and they know what's what. So I'm never going to degrade anything, because they've all got a use, but some of us just think differently about how we use it, if that makes sense in the roundabout way.
Yeah,
you can't compare the two, I don't think, because they are working in different environments under different pressures, different regulations, different pricing, and at the end of the day, if you're doing it for work, it's down to pound, shilling and pence. Because at the end of the day, that's what is going to make you pay your bills and everything else.
fair enough.
I understand what you're saying, but the point I'm trying to make is they are two separate things, and I agree with that entirely. But it's almost like what you're saying is, this is what I need for me in my direction, so this is what I think should be right for everybody. And if it goes that way, as long as I've got what I want out of it, then that's all right. I'm thinking about the tens of thousands of lads who grew up with rabbits and, and birch hasn't been into it. We lose them boys, won't we?
that's not the impression. That's not the impression I want to give, and I will reword that if I ever have to say this again. For me, I'm going in one way. I will always support and help and advocate what I do for fun. So when I go out and I'm ferreting for fun with a big hob and my dog, just bolting for the dog, I'm like a little kid. We'll fight tooth and nail for that. But that's not the way my work's. So I'm not using that dog for my work. I've not. I don't care any less about that. But what I'm trying to say is there is a difference when we're talking professionally about what we're doing, where and how, and doing it for fun. If it came down to, like it is doing, protecting it by law, then I have already said and stated and sent in, it doesn't matter what dog you're using, whether it's for fun, one day a year, every day of the week, they all need the same protection. Because at the end of the day, that is person with a dog doing a job. Person, dog, rat. Doesn't matter where, how, or who. It's the same skeleton, and that is what we need to protect. So yeah, if I give that impression that like fuck you, I'm going down this direction, I apologise for that. But professionally, that's why I've gone that way. But that doesn't mean I'm not helping protect the thing, because we are. There's a lot of work going on behind the scenes about protecting these. It's just not me professionally.
What is going on behind the scenes to try and protect it? Then what are people actually doing?
Well, there's lots of splinters going on, and they're good splinters because I mean I remember like a lot of people do, '96 and Macmamara Bill, all the marches. I organised marches. I've been speaker at all these. I've been behind the scenes with politicians. I've also been behind the scenes with these organisations that were meant to protect us. So it's interesting to see now they're wheeling out the Trojan horses yet again because they want the help of many to protect the few. And now it's been splintered because there's a lot of people with long memories of what happened then, and they don't want it to happen now for everybody with their dogs, lurchers, terriers, whatever, whether it's a Sunday morning or whether it's every day of the week. They're trying to make sure that nothing happens to them like it did to the terrier work in the coursing world back in 2004, where they were told by organisations they would never be affected, and yet when it come down to it, they were the first ones to be chucked under the bus. So
what do you mean by the Trojan horses? Sorry.
A Trojan horse is something. You know what a Trojan horse is?
But who are the Trojan horses?
When you look at the countryside organisations that are meant to help us, there's two basically, isn't there? There's two. I'm not going to name them. You know who they are. One's doggy and one's shooting, right? So one of them in Scotland. Do you know what organisations I'm on about?
No, you tell us which ones.
Right. Well, in Scotland, no, not that one. That one actually cared. I'm on about the one with the Teletubby Hill Sunrise and when they changed all the literature. But basically, when the hunting with dogs bill went through in Scotland, Basque turned away all offers for help from everybody in England to try and protect the dog work in Scotland. They said, no, we've got it covered. And then when it went to all the ministers' reading, they were only interested in the gun aspect and not the dog aspect. So that went by the wayside, simply because they thought they knew better, and they went through because they had their own agendas. Because at the end of the day, the police said it's got to go because too many hair cases have fallen apart because they're using rabbits as an excuse. And then the problem's gone now because there's no little kink in the armour. And there was, because it's all to do with indigenous species and non-indigenous species. But a certain gentleman, before his retirement from this organisation, stated that they are now classing rabbits as indigenous, so therefore there was no loophole in the law. So again, the people meant to protect us were basically looking after their further interests. The same as the Countryside Alliance all those years ago, when they were meant to be protecting us, they were looking after, rightly or wrongly, the money men, the people who were giving them an enormous amount of money to campaign and protecting what they were doing. They didn't protect what they were doing because, as we all know, there was a hunting ban. Rabbits were excluded, and it started trail hunting. And obviously we are where we are now, 20 odd years later, where everything's going to catch up with them because they're not trail hunting. So, you've got to look at the people who were meant to protect us. Are they really protecting us? That's what I'm saying. So they wheel out these people saying, yeah, come with us, we'll protect you, we'll protect you, we'll protect you. Well, we've heard all that before, and they got nobody nowhere. So that's why I call it the Trojan horse, because they're not going to protect us, and that's why these splinters are good, because you've got lots of people now involved in these meetings, not just people from these organisations. So you've got the hunting kind, you've got you've got people submitting their heritage rights to the European government, because funny enough, it might be the European government that saves us in this country, even though we're not part of Europe. We still have our human rights, and as a member of the travelling community now, I've got even more rights. So technically, that's right. Technically, Sean.
You are definitely a traveller now.
So, and you've got to play them at their own game. And this is why I've been helping a few of them, because they've still got the mindset of, well, nah, they can't ban this because it's how I feed my family. And I say to them, what they'll turn around to you and say, go to Tesco's. That's what they'll say, go to Tesco's. They're not interested. So we've had to change mindsets and play fire with fire and play words with words, because it will be people who are clever with words that will save us. It won't be people doing marches or protests or online petitions. That will be somebody who's very clever in how they word something, and that will be our saviour. And with these people now in these meetings, we now know what goes on, whereas before we didn't. All we got was a watered down version of what people wanted us to know, what they think we knew what was going on, whereas now we know what's going on. So there's transparency. So there is, there's loads of people helping. There's loads of fantastic people all over the country getting really into this, because it's not just their way of life and their sport and their tradition and everything else. It's a basic fact of, if you want to go out and catch a rabbit with your dog, you should be allowed to go out and catch a rabbit with your dog. That's what everybody lost their lives for in wars. For freedom to do stuff like this. And we are getting back to this freedom thing, and by registering everything as a heritage or a tradition or a right, it's going to be a lot harder to stop, because of all the other laws that we've all moaned about, but we could be using to our advantage, because it is discrimination against minorities. And if you're a certain minority, they take that discrimination quite seriously. So things have changed, the dynamics have changed, and the way people have thought have changed. And and that's why I think the ministers are a little bit more, we just want trail hunting to go, because do we really need this Pandora's box open with what's going on in the world at the minute? I don't think they do. But on the flip side, if somebody, for instance, if somebody has a trial and that trial doesn't go well, and he might look a bit more of a fool than he normally is, he might need to appease all of his backbenchers, right? There's a private members bill waiting that could just destroy a lot of what we're fighting for. So I'm hoping that doesn't happen and they just stick to what they're doing. But the politicians, so until it's all been laid out and it's been rolled out as to what they're thinking of doing, it's hard to second guess because they don't really know themselves what they're trying to do.
But once, if they, right, so say, which it looks like it will be, trail hunting's banned. Okay.
Yeah.
Suddenly you've got all these protesters out of what to do on a Saturday and a Sunday morning or whatever. They've got no reason to run around the countryside and cause havoc anymore. What's their next project?
Exactly.
Well,
will it be pheasant shooting? Will it be what will the next? What do you predict the next target will be?
The next target's already started, and Sean's hit the nail on the head. I mean, I lived on a grouse mower, and to be fair, lots of people don't know really what goes on a grouse mower. Conservation-wise, they are second to none. You will not find a better array of wildlife than on there. I'm not saying it's perfect, but the wildlife is good. The money that is spread around the whole area, but it is seen as those with and those with not, and already they are being hit like never before. And unfortunately, this is going to be the way of the world. Something is going to take the brunt, and they've almost started already by targeting shoots more than they have been the hunting, because there's been a rise in saboteurs in the last 5 years, just because socially across the board it's not accepted for anything to lose its life now. Food's in a wrapper, everything can be AI, everything can be, they have no understanding or conscience about where anything comes from no more. And very quickly, the taking of an animal's life is deemed the worst thing in the world. And that, sadly, is just going to get worse and worse and worse unless we can stem the flow a little bit. And the only way to stem the flow is to be able to substantiate the moral dilemmas of what you do. Now, I know I can, and I know other people can, but it's all about getting your house in order. And you hit the nail on the head earlier on when you said where there were, not all houses have been in order. Well, we've had enough warning shots across about getting your house in order. And those with the house in order won't be affected as much as those that haven't got the house in order. But at the end of the day, there will always be somebody that doesn't agree with what you're doing, and they will protest it. It just depends how level that playing field is for protesting, because at the minute, it's not a level playing field. The protesters seem to get away with anything. They can wear masks, they can assault people, they can go on land they shouldn't be on. But if anybody retaliates or try to protect their land, then the law comes down on them. So it's almost advocating people to do it. But when you look through the timeline of our history, there's always been people that have objected to stuff like this. It's just nowadays, because we've got social media and instant communication, more people see it. I don't think there's more now than there was in the 2000s and the 90s. It's just that it's being made more aware now through media. And that's something that's always going to be there now. We're not going to get rid of all this. This is here to stay. And we've just got to learn to...
Do you think it's to do with education of young people as well, though, coming up, where food comes from? And
because I do a lot of education days for agricultural associations and private groups. And you get the kids, and they're mainly from inner city areas, and they love it. They're animals, blah, 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 blah. And then you get other kids from a different area, and they're like, but it's not the kids. It's the parents and the teachers. They're the ones imposing their will on the kids.
Yeah.
So not the kids really that are growing up not understanding. We've missed a big chunk of our timeline where they just don't want anything to happen to anything, but they'll go down McDonald's and have the burger, or they'll go to Kentucky and have the chicken, or they'll go in the supermarket and get the cellophane wrapped food. They just don't want to know how that animal's got there or what that animal's done to get there. And never mind if somebody's enjoyed doing that process, that's even worse. And this is where all these people who don't agree with it come in, because they don't think you should be allowed to enjoy what you do. Well, we all enjoy what we do. Otherwise, you wouldn't do it. But this is what we've got to get a grip on: is the certain things in our world have got to happen. Otherwise, we'll all die out because we can't all eat plastic meat. So it's about getting that gap shut, so the children aren't almost like blindsided by what the teachers are saying. But can you get to the teachers? I don't think you can, because it's gone too far now.
I agree with everything you say again, but what I think I see is the following. I think within the hunting shooting community, it is generally run by old blokes who almost feel like, yeah, they've almost accepted the inevitable. And I think in their head to think, well, listen, I'm 50. It goes another 5 years, another 10 years. I'm okay. It's going to go anyways. Like, let's just drag it out and kick the can down the road. Whereas when you look at and they don't have a lot of zest for fighting this fight. They think every non-prosecution is a victory. You know, they never, when they have the chance of victory against the antis because they're being assaulted or whatever, they never run with it. They never hit them with the same vigor that they hit us. And the antis are a far younger crowd. They have that vibrancy, that youthful naivety and commitment to the cause, and they are going to fight it. And if you put an army of young men against an army of old men, sooner or later they will wear you down and kick you all over. And the youngsters are coming through because of school and stuff.
Is that the same sort? Is that the same sort of thing as you see now on with the Greens up and coming? All the young people going, yeah, we're going to vote Green. Yeah, we're going to go Green. Is that because they've got that, but then is it
useful idiots?
Yeah, but have you got what I'm saying is
they're swayed by stuff they don't understand. Like, I mean, look at the Green Party, the worst party in the world. Let's shut the prisons down. You know, I'm working on one next week, a big hospital. Yeah, shut that down. Put them on the street. Yeah, nobody will notice. It's just not going to work. You know, and whoever is in, they're as bad as each other. So I'm not getting involved in politics. They're all as bad as each other.
It wasn't that so much. It was just the young people versus the old people as such. The same as what you said, you know.
If you go back through our timeline of history, those young people wouldn't be for the Greens; they'd be for the Labour Party, because up the workers. I'm saying that when they get a trust fund going to university, but they're up the workers. The Green Party's just replaced that, in my view, and it's just another avenue where there can be a lot of huff and puff, but at the end of the day, they're really never going to do anything, because when you look at what they stand for, who they are, and what they're going to bring in, I mean, you've got to be a real, even thicker than if you voted for Starmer. You've got to be a real idiot, and I know there's a lot of idiots about, but I just don't think. No, I just think it's a trendy thing, isn't it? I think the Green Party.
So once grouse is sort of, say that's the next target. What would be the next target after that? Because I hear that people are talking about fishing being.
I don't think there will be anything, because I don't think nothing will happen to grouse.
Right.
I don't think they're having to go shooting now. So there's a lot of shoots disbanded through red tape, not through laws. And this is what I mean about people and words. You don't have to ban anything to get rid of it. No. This is why all those years ago, when they said we want to go for a licensed hunt, that would have been the worst thing possible, because all they would do is go, we'll license you. All the hunts in the country will license you. And then somebody in Westminster will just go, I'm not going to give you a license this year. like what happened to the Forestry Commission with the hunts when they were naughty in the forestry in lockdown. They just didn't give them a license, so they couldn't hunt. So, you know, there's all these conservation problems, scientific interest, and too much insect damage by pheasants and partridges. That's how they'll do it. They won't do it by banning it. But like I said, when you look at what goes on around the periphery of grouse to produce the grouse, conservation-wise, the advantages outweigh the disadvantages. So I can't see in my lifetime anywhere anything happening to grouse shooting on the scale that's happening to trail hunting.
Well, they're doing it with the burns, aren't they? They're doing it with burn, and they're doing exactly that.
And they're doing it for pheasant shooting now. With they're saying the pheasants are eating too much invertebrates, so you can't release them there. You've got to move. Or we've seen this bird nest there, so you've got to move your pens. They don't have to ban anything to stop it, and this is why when people are now going in about this potentially hunting amendments, they don't want to talk about licensing, because yes, you could get a dog license, but they just don't have to give it to you, and they don't have to give an excuse. So
that's a bit like shotguns now, isn't it? The hoops that you've got to jump through to renew your shot. Well, I don't know about everywhere, but certainly down here, it's just like my son's just given up his license. He's just I just can't go. I can't wait. You know, I can't. He had his license. He had his shotgun in storage, waiting for his license to be renewed, and it's cost him, I don't know, 600 quid in holding his shotgun. He's just like, I can't be bothered, so just let it go.
And then you got the rise of the doctor's letters now. They're going to be a few hundred quid. They don't have to ban it. They'll just people with words will just make sure it's impossible to do, and that's not what we want with what we do, because otherwise you will be fighting a losing battle. So you're better off having it. It's either legal or illegal, no license in between, because that license is just going to get swallowed up, in my opinion, anyway.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying? You don't.
No, I'm just thinking. I wonder if places like your prisons and that are going to end up applying for a license, or there'll be, if they're licensed it, whether it would end up like the glue boards. Because you're right, you can stop glue board usage just by putting a license in. And I wonder if what will be left will be a very, very small handful of people across the country who can execute that work, and then eventually they will die out.
There is a few angling at that, and I'm against it, because, like the confusion earlier on, I'm about everybody. You know, I'm not about just me. A lot of people that want the license are just looking after their businesses, you see, because they'll be okay because it's their business. They're not thinking about everybody else. And again, they could go like, we'll be successful, we'll get it licensed, so it's banned, but you can do it under license. But there's no guarantee you're going to get that license, you know, because if whoever sends the orders from above, they're going to quash it. You know, I was in a meeting with a few years ago, a Natural England head of department who had the first permit to shoot otters on his desk, and they were going to sign it. There was otters and buzzards, and they didn't, because they had word from above. They didn't want to open the floodgates, and it would never happen again, which is why they didn't with the otter. And that's what I mean. You could have all the backing and information and science and knowledge. Somebody above says no. It's a bit like your chip and pin machine. If that computer says no, all the huffing and puffing ain't going to change it. So I think the licensing is a bit selfish, but I think it's not the route you want to go down.
No, it absolutely isn't. I've seen that before. There was a gamekeeper who applied for a license to shoot buzzards, and he had all the relevant like evidence. They're sitting on the post, they're killing stock, they're in huge numbers. He'd absolutely evidence it up to the max, and they wouldn't give him it. And he took them to court, and it transpired that they simply wouldn't give him it, and they were never going to give a license to shoot a buzzard. And they admitted that. And the judge turned around and found against them because he said, "What's the point of having a license if he's going to hit the criteria and you're not going to give it?" But by that point, the shoot had went bust. He tried to do everything properly, and they'd run him out of town. So,
well, I know that happened near where I'm parked up at the minute with Sparrowhawks. Exactly the same thing. All 5 years worth of partridge information, scientific data, photographs, videos, blah blah blah. Not a chance, because it would set a precedent, and it's just sad because, you know, as we go on, everything's multiplying. You know, the amount of magpies, the amount of crows, the amount of the rooks, about everything. The birds of prey, the red kites, the otters, everything is protected. Badgers protected, but they've all got to eat something. So this is where the conflict is, and with a licensing system, they're never going to set that precedent, because if they give it to one person, they then, with everybody having the right information, they've then got to give it. But has everybody got the finances and resources and time to question this legally? So it's a bit, you know.
I tell you the thing which I hate about it is the hypocrisy of it. We spoke about this on last week's episode on the news thing. They are trying to ban and license everything, and then the same people on that island in where was the island, Hugh? Just off Northern Ireland, wasn't it?
Oh, there was one off Northern Ireland, and then there's the Stoats in Orkney, isn't there?
Yeah. And then, and you know as well as I do, Simon, the RSPB, the RSPCA, they're killing COVID. So RSPB are killing COVID and fox in huge numbers on nature reserves, and they're doing everything that they are adamantly against so publicly. If we are to do it in one respect, and you're right, the grouse moors are massive, aren't they? The indicator species, your waders, your oyster catchers, your curlews, your this, your that. Where they are nowhere else, these red-listed birds are thriving because of the habitat management.
I remember Minsmere. Remember Minsmere when Springwash was there, Mr. Packham?
Yeah.
Used to live near there, work all around there. And at that time, I was doing a lot of films for the Shooting Times. And I did one on rabbits. And I asked permission from Minsmere to film, and they said, "No, we've got Springwatch here. So we're not giving you any permission to film on any of our land." And what they used to do was fence the rabbits in, till a bit of ground in it, and they do it for the stone curlews and stuff. But they'd also have all the local people shooting the foxes. And then they had a massive deer cull. I think 900 odd red deer went in Minsmere. Again, they played that down. And you're right, the hypocrisy of these organisations, but also the stupidity, because if they'd listen to people, these animals that people are donating money to try and protect and promote would have a chance of surviving. But that will never happen, because it's the politics of above. Like you said, people are always going to say no, and that's it's just a sad thing, because people don't see that side of things, and you can't believe everything you see on the telly now because of AI and how everything is. So when the RSPB and people like that pop up and say, "Right, donate now, and we're going to do this and we're going to do that," but we're against this and we're against that, people should be aware of, you know, what's going on behind the scenes. Because when Minsmere did the foxes, they approached a lot of people, but they wanted them to sign NDAs because they didn't want anybody to know what they were doing. They had to use thermal, they had to use night vision, and if they got caught, they would refuse any responsibility for their actions. So even though they were getting paid by these organisations to do it, they would wash their hands off them if they got caught. So it's been going on for donkey's years, and people should be aware of it, but they're not, because they don't want to. They just don't want to hear it.
I agree 100%. Anyways, tell us a little bit more about what's new in your life before we go down a proper full-on hour-and-a-half rant about the fucking state of the government.
Right, no, we're not going to do that. Rabbiting's been going well. I've been like doing some really funny little jobs, some little doody jobs, and then that's taken me around the country. So obviously, I'm living in my van, as we can see here. Woo! I'm in here.
Well, tell you what, tell people about that, living in a van, because that's proper interesting.
Right. Well, me and my two dogs, right, we live in this van, and I obviously travel around the country doing my shows, but I also travel around the country doing work. And I discovered I was in my house I rented near Yarm, less than 10 days a month. So I decided to buy a van, do it all up, make it like a little flat, live in it. So like when I'm traveling about for work or whatever, everything's here. So I've got a little barn out in the middle of nowhere where all my ferrets are, and I'm now getting a load of cages done in Suffolk. So when I'm down there, all my ferrets are down there as well. I've got some ferrets in the New Forest out the way, so I've got them everywhere. And then living in the van has been absolutely amazing because it suits me. You know, people. I'm not going to romanticize this. You know, this would drive a normal person absolutely batshit crazy, right? Because everything's here, and you're taking everything with you. So, for me, I can't forget anything because it's always here. But a normal person would find it a little bit constrictive and what's that word when you the fear claustrophobic. Yeah, claustrophobic. And like today, I had a new turbo done and a battery. You know, it costs because you're putting a lot of use on it. But the relief it gives you of not wasting all that money paying your council tax and your bills and your rent is unbelievable. But it's not the hippie flower thing people imagine it to be. It can be because you look on social media, I open that door and it's a beautiful sunset, beautiful beach. I park in the middle of industrial units where there's cameras because that's where you're safe. I got a big Belgian Mali here. Nobody's going to come in, but it's what suited me. So when I need to go somewhere and I've got my ferrets, I've got all carrying cages that go in the back. They've all got aircon. They're all going off, and I've just had my inspection, funny enough, for my license to demonstrate at events, and this is what we have to go into: contingency plans and animal welfare. Because I need a license to go into an arena to demonstrate what I do. So everything we do is licensed, but it gives me the freedom to be able to, at a drop of a hat, do some work. So I'm away next week. Somebody rang up earlier on. Can he do something? You know, and because I'm down that neck of the woods, I can fit it in. So it has given me a lot of freedom to do more of what I want to do work wise. But it does take a lot of planning because at the end of the day, you're constricted to what you can carry. But it is good. I mean, it's not what people think, but it suits me. And I've never been happier than living in this van. So if you can imagine, the coldest it got in the winter was -9. We had a bit of snow and it was -9. I was in boxer shorts in here because I got a good heater and it's all insulated and everything's. I've got microwave, hot and shower, hot and cold water, coffee machine, projector screen for the TV. Everything's sorted, and the dogs are all sorted, and the animals when they're in here are sorted. Tend not to have the ferrets in here too much because it's not the smell; it's the fact that on the middle of the night they want to drink from the water bottle, and all you can hear is that little pinging noise of a water bottle going. And that does your head in when you're trying to sleep. All you can hear is this little water bottle go.
How do we can take that? We're sharing the bed with fucking 2 dogs and 7 ferrets.
Well, the dogs are in crates, and funny enough, you know, it has been a bit of a stumbling block because you've got to be a certain mind frame to understand not just the lifestyle I live, because you know. I'm probably more a traveller than most travellers, and I demonstrate and obviously do me rabbiting and train me dogs, and I'm in the gym a lot. So here, I mean, forget about the van, right? So I live in a van. Whoopie do, you know. I travel the country demonstrating and working and returning and whatnot. That gets people, you know, it brings out the insecurities in people. But after the fact that I don't drink and eat clean, that really does people heads in because being healthy and eating clean, the new fat kid on the block eating McDonald's, isn't it? You know, it's they just can't get their head around it. So by having everything here, it's just perfect. You know, the gym, work, rest, play. You know,
You don't have to
it's just
interact with any fucker.
well. Funny you should say that. You see, because yeah, you know, this is one of the main one of the main advantages of this is that people you find out only people who want you for the right reasons will be around you if you do something like this. So the it's a good filter because you can soon see through people when you do, when I'm doing this full on. You know, living in a van, working as I work, and doing what I do. I think it's amazing. I think it's fantastic. I don't, you know, I suits me down to the ground. I'm looking for a little plot of land in the south in Suffolk, so I can be near my daughter and my mum because she's getting on. I've got a little barn up here where I've got stuff in. You know, happy as Larry. And then I just go along about my daily business, whether it's Dick Van Dyke in it like I have been today and tomorrow, or I'm rabbiting, or I've got shows at the weekend and all next week and the week after. I can just rook up. And the biggest advantage is the fact that you're fresh and healthy and well slept and hydrated and fed because you're not keeping in a car or an Airbnb and trying to get in, and you're not every um,
So you don't get problems finding somewhere to park
just
up.
been
Then?
made easy. It's like there's push come to the shove. There's apps you go on. There's apps. So like I know I can go in most Tesco's car parks all day for £4. I'm Grinder, yeah, Grinder. So you can go in Premier League. No, I'm not. No, they banned me on Grinder. So
completed it. It's got the blue tick.
No, that's your Grinder account. That's not mine.
You, then?
No, because you see, when I first started this, I made a few schoolboy errors, thinking that looks like a good lay-by or that looks like a good place, and then you soon find out, you know, how people's minds are and where they like to go, what they like to do. So what they don't like is like a £60 Belgian Malinois barking its head off coming out of the back tends to like put them off a little bit. But I've learned just to avoid it, to avoid those areas. So I know there's loads wherever I go, there is somewhere I can stay for free under a camera where I'll be safe. And if not, I'll just pay £4 going to Tesco's car park or Morrison's car park or wherever. But being a skinflint, 9 times out of 10, somewhere for free. There is no because you just got to think about it. Do I always want to go to the seaside and upset everybody? No. Do I want the beautiful sunrises every morning? Well, I see that every day, so it's nothing new. I'm not going to put this all on social media because I don't want people to know what I'm up to when it's my private life. I don't want them to, just done. So I'm going to stay where's best for me, and most of the times that is urban areas and industrial estates where you've got cameras because nobody's going to muck about. There's no through traffic, and you're going to get a good night's sleep because, as my PT keeps telling me, I'm getting old. I need me 8 hours sleep at least. So yeah, you can get that. I did build it myself. It was a white van. I learned a lot from YouTube and people. The lad who I bought this off fitted the basic electrics, and then I did the rest. I had the units built, but I fitted them, fitted the shower and all the hot water system. I made a lot of mistakes, flooded it a few times, but you do, don't you? And then painted it to look like a horse box. So then everybody leaves it alone because they think it's a horse box.
Is it a stealth van?
Yeah, it's a stealth van. Yeah, everybody knows this van. If it looked like a camper van, you would attract more attention than if it looks like a horse wagon.
You haven't got a little trap door at the front so you can sneak through or anything like that then? So you...
Oh, yeah, I have. I can walk through at the front if I want to, yeah. Everything's been sorted out.
I know the tricks.
I don't like about it looking like a horse van. It'll probably attract horsey girls, and they're the fucking worst, aren't they? They are the worst of the worst.
Well. I've been bitten a few times there, so no chance. Not a chance. Not a chance in the world.
They're mental, aren't they? They're mental.
Yeah, they're a different. Yeah. I'm still having that battles with Suffolk. You know, my daughter is a proper pony princess for dressage, and she just took after her mum, and they are a different level. You know, but you know they've got to do
more
something.
money now to spend, haven't you? So
yeah.
I doubt it. No, I've not found out how much a new turbo and everything else is costing. So I wouldn't. Everybody thinks just because you're living in a van, you're instantly going to save everything, but you still got bills to pay. You know, my diesel bill is quite expensive.
If you take the bus in to get it repaired, okay,
yeah,
and the repair takes 2 days, which it could possibly do if it's a turbo. Where do you live for 2 days? You can't live in the garage.
I take it to somewhere where it doesn't take 2 days. So, my turbo, a friend of mine's got a garage in Brompton, right? Practically rebuilt the engine on this van. So, when we knew my turbo was going and it kept going into limp mode, and I've been around the country once. I've done 4,000 miles in limp mode in the last 3 weeks. So, I've been up and down the M3, M4, A12, M25 at 50 miles an hour. And not one lorry thinks, no, they just think you're a horse box. Nobody's going to beep at a horse box. They're not going to. There's animals in there, right? So they're not going to beep at you. So I knew it had to be fixed. So this week I've been here all week, and I took it in, and he went, right, we'll start it in the morning, and we'll make sure it's done by the night. And then he couldn't, so he said, right, we can't do it in a day, bring it back in the morning, which is what I do. And then he did it. If for instance, something happened and that scenario arose, I'll just get an Airbnb. You know, I'll just get the dogs and get an Airbnb for the night. There's or if it's set up here, they'll just park it outside and I'll just still keep in the van. I won't be able to drive it anywhere, but I'll still be able to function in it because everything in the back electrically is independent from the front. So, like when they've been mucking about with the electrics, that's affected nothing here because this is solar and battery and inverter, and not the front of the van. So, and touch wood, hopefully I'll never come to that scenario because that would be a nightmare. But you'll cross those bridges when you come to them.
What are you doing for a postal address? Rupert asks.
You need a postal address because you need your driving license. And when I left my house, I had to physically go into the council offices because their computer system wouldn't accept that I was moving to nowhere. They always said that you need a postcode, and I said no, I don't, because I'm basically homeless now. I live nowhere. So they have to override the computer to stop me council tax. Because I'm not registered with the council, I don't have to abide by the building regulations, which will make it easier for putting something up on a bit of land because I'm a traveller. And then for my driving licence, I have got a postcode on my pig barn, which is where all my post goes. So I don't live there, but that's where all my post goes. And legally, that's what I had to do. I had to have a postcode for my driving license. But I could use my mum's address. You don't have to live there. But the blurry bit was council tax. They were trying to get you for council tax, which is why they had to override it because they couldn't. they couldn't accept that you weren't traveling to going to another postcode. So everything was all thought out and sorted out well in advance. And I've just got to, even if I'm away for like 3, 4, 5 weeks, I'll just get a post office diverter to where I'm going, and they'll just move me mail with me. So there's ways and means of doing everything nowadays.
Cool. Love it.
So,
Well,
yeah.
But you know, you're just somebody, it's weird, isn't it? You like live the life that every probably 18, 19-year-old lad who likes the countryside wants to live, don't you? You're like, you live in a van.
Yeah, but it's not. That's why I keep saying living the dream, because it's not really. It can be mentally disabling being in something like this, because you're by yourself, and if the weather's wank and things aren't going right, you can start to question your sanity. But that's why I go to the gym, so I can just like blank everything else out. You've got to look after your animals, because the animals have got to, he's, especially with the dogs I've got, it's harder for them, even though everything's covered. It's not the same. In ways, it's better, and then you've got to think about little simple things, like washing food and stuff like that. So it's not for everybody, but yeah, if anybody is like got no commitments or no dependence, then yes, this is why more people are doing it, because they want that freedom, they want that independence, they don't want to be wasting this. And to be fair, a lot of people can't afford it. I can't afford to live in the house by myself. Not nowadays, I don't think. By the time you add up all your bills and your council tax and your rent, and then you've got stuff you need for work and everything else, it's quite expensive. So it suits me down to the ground, this.
How do you know, Philip? Getting a crew on mess van tomorrow as a result of listening to Simon. Oh, is this from tonight's? Simon's got a lovely blue horse box one for sale. He's moving back into a flat.
Yeah.
Your flat.
Yeah. Like I said, it's not for everybody, but it suits me. It suits me.
Well, we've managed an hour and a half rambling about nothing. I don't know what we talked about, to be honest.
The best way, and you know what? The most refreshing thing is, I didn't have to talk about ferrets. It's fantastic. An hour and a half. We haven't even covered the subject of ferrets.
Oh, yeah. So, on the ferret subject.
Yeah. What is it?
Do you want to go with your first, Hugh?
Right, yeah, there we go. We always ask.
Let's do something different, because Simon's had them 3 questions before, and you can still read them, but we're going to give you a question each that either is or isn't in that list. Hugh's going to go first.
Go on then.
What? I'm going to give a what? I got to give a question.
Yeah, like something. Yeah. Let's see if we can come up with some final questions off the top of my head. I've got one. I've got one. What subject do you think that we're not talking about that we should be talking about?
Right. What, in the pest control industry?
Anything.
Yeah.
Anything?
Yeah?
Bees?
Fuck no. Fuck no.
Bees? The benefits of natural honey? I think that's a fantastic. Honestly, bees don't. People don't understand.
Yeah.
No, seriously, what should people be talking about? I think a subject you should be talking about is about being fit for purpose.
Right.
As humans?
As people, as humans, for what we do, surprisingly, as time gets on, less and less are fit for purpose. And that's quite alarming.
Physically fit?
and
Do you mean
mentally.
physically fit and
No,
mentally?
I mean as a complete package, because I like to do a lot of people watching because obviously I live in a van and I'd sit on the side, I'd make a coffee and I'll just like watch the world go by or be training my dog around people. And when you get to talk to people and you go, for instance, the let's say for instance the pest control thing, I was walking around. Um, People's perceptions of are you mentally strong and capable for doing your job has diminished. Going by the questions I was asked when I did my talk and listening to people walking about, it seems to be that there is no ambition. They're happy just to like be little drones and just there's no asking and learning and thinking outside the box. That was just like little, I suppose, like little bees, like little drones just going around, but being happy. There didn't seem to be any ambition for it, if you know what I mean. And it might just be the people that were there, but wherever you go, people just seem to be content just to plod as opposed to being ambitious. That's what I'm trying to say. There should be more people being ambitious and thinking outside of the box to do things in whatever industry. But it seems to be, and I don't know if that's because of how life is now. They just seem to be content to plod along and not be ambitious. I think that why is that? Why have people lost their ambition? Because when I was younger, everybody wanted to better themselves, and obviously, Sean, better you're not just content with doing what you're doing. But is that widespread, or is that more industry related, or is that across the world? And everyone for you get.
I think it's widespread in this country, and I think mental health's very important, but I think we went too far with it. I think now there is an excuse for everything, and
oh yeah, definitely, it's a new headache. But this when I've spoke to loads of people recently about a different industry, and there's no ambition there. There's no get up and go. They just get the round, do the job, and just crack. They're just content. And I just wondered where all the spark and ambition is. Is that is it has it gone? Have people been grind down just to accepting their place, or is that because people around me are those people that want to be better and think outside the box, that I take that for granted, and that maybe I might be a little bit different and the people around me are different because they want to be better? I don't know.
No, I absolutely get that. I had that with Clive at the weekend. Actually, we were these 2 days were in Cambridge. I know he won't mind us saying he had Ricky's his lad there who's like 19 and asked. He's a lovely kid, he's a right nice lad, but that's exactly what it is. It's like I was trying to say to Rick, like, the thing is, if you want these good jobs, you're going to have to outcompete people. They're not there. They're not easy to get. You're going to have to go. You're going to have to be a killer to get them, because they're not going to come on a silver platter for you. And you do see people who are happy to not achieve their potential, don't you? Which I find frustrating for them. Like, you've got one life. Like, go out and whatever it is you choose to do, just do it to the best of your ability, isn't it? Like, just actually be a little bit sort of ADHD about it and throw yourself at it and fucking do it.
Perhaps that's what it is, but it just seems to be, and going to London was a perfect highlight. Even before I got chucked off the train, it was the fact that everybody was 100 miles an hour, but they got no further forward. And sort of, they are just like little ants, in a colony. And I spoke to a few of them on the train and off the train, and they're just like, there's nothing there. There's nothing. There's not. It's just like, go to work, do it and come back. There's just quite sad, really.
Issue. That's a really good topic for us to talk about, isn't it? Young people in pest control, and we always extol why we want them in, but maybe it's time that we turn around and tell them what's expected of them. Do you know what I mean? Maybe that's a great conversation to have for us to say, yeah, like it's all right screaming and shouting about it.
Granted, didn't it? Before you took it for granted, whereas now you can't take nothing for granted, can you? Because it's like common sense isn't there now. So yeah, you're right. You get young people coming in. What are their expectations? Are they higher because of what they see other people achieve? Because I get that with what I do. People want to do this, which is great, crack on, but it takes a lot of years to get to a certain level, and a lot of them, in my world, won't accept that because they see instant rewards everywhere. They don't see the hard work behind the scene, and that's probably what it is. It's you have to work at something and want it, whereas that hunger isn't there. That's what it's just not there, and that's why they're satisfied and not driving on, because perhaps it's not there now. Perhaps it isn't there.
Last question then, Sean. Quick.
To be fair, I was just going to say, you don't know anybody who grafts lovely big juicy queen cells that'll turn into fantastic colonies.
Right, that's it. Fine.
I was looking at them. Funny enough, I've got some here actually. I got given some some honey from the New Forest.
In a minute.
And it's nearly empty. But it's
right. Say good night. Say good night.
Good night. Good night.
Say good night now. Quick. Night. Thank you for listening to the Beauties and Beasties podcast.